You're listening to Careers and Cocktails, career talk with a twist, hosted by expert recruiter Renee Frey. Let's get this party started.
Hey party people, welcome back to Careers and Cocktails. Today we have a dynamite branding expert, Jodi Mayers.
Hi.
And she and I go way back, and we'll get into that a little bit, but let me talk through her wonderful accomplishments. So she does professional styling for men and women. She is the go-to fashion advisor for 5 Eyewitness News, Twin Cities Live, and WCCO Mid-Morning, The Jason Show, Care 11 News, as well as the Saturday Morning Show. She actually ditched a corporate job to get into styling, and that's how we met.
Yes.
I am awful at shopping, even though everyone always says, gosh, your clothes are so cute, you're so put together. Well, let me let you in on a little secret. It's because Jodi is behind it. I don't understand shopping. I get lost in all the racks of clothes. I don't know what to pair with anything. And she helps me from a professional and personal branding standpoint. So,
oh my gosh, and you're so fun to work with because you have the most dynamic personality ever. And you needed outfits that showcase that personality. We needed the outer package to match the awesome woman that you are on the inside.
Oh, thank you.
And you're also going places, big time places. And your clothes should be aspirational, and you're heading there and you wanted to look the part.
Absolutely. So, we ask every guest what your favorite drink is.
My favorite drink. I've got a lot of them, but this time of year, now that the temperatures are getting cooler, I'm a whiskey girl. And I love Brother Justus whiskey because one of my good friends, Phil Steger, is the founder of Brother Justus, and he and I went to college together. He's St. John's University. I was the College of St. Benedict. And he left a law gig to start his dream of a whiskey distillery. And Brother Justus is amazing. If you haven't tried it, they have the American version as well as the silver, which is a white whiskey. Typically, this is for sipping, and then the silver one is awesome for mixing. So if you want to do they call it a Bloody Justus, which is like a Bloody Mary. Mm-hmm. And then they also have this really awesome summertime drink called Sister Sun. And it's mixed with pineapple juice and all those tropical wonderful flavors. So I love this because it has a lot of history and rooted in central Minnesota. Brother Justus was an actual brother monk up at
I read
St.
about
John's.
that.
Yes. And he, at the time, during Prohibition, a lot of people were making, various kinds of alcoholic content.
Right.
Using things that were not very healthy. I mean, literally could poison yourself. And so Brother Justus actually decided he needed to go around and help some of these farmers, learn how to do this responsibly.
Yeah.
And so at a time when they weren't supposed to be doing this at all,
right,
it was a little scandalous, which I love. So there's an awesome story here. You'll have to invite Phil on sometime to talk about this because he is the storyteller of all storytellers.
Definitely.
And you could eat up 2 hours talking to him.
Definitely. And being born and raised in Minnesota, my heart, even though I'm in Wisconsin now, my heart will always have a little special place in Minnesota. So let's crack it open.
Oh my gosh.
On the front of the bottle, holding the cork down, there's a label. It almost looks like something that you would see on a wine glass, but it looks super fancy. And it says batch number, and we have 15.
Batch number 15, bottle 136 out of that batch.
Right. And they make it in super small quantities. So
they make it in small, oak barrels, and all the oak and everything comes out of central Minnesota as well.
Wow.
Okay. And so he was kind of telling us earlier that each of the batches can have just the slightest little difference because the growing environment in which all this oak is actually grown can be a little bit different, right? And so they all have their own unique little flavors that they sometimes come through. So.
And that's what makes it so
cool.
interesting.
Right. But that's why the numbers are important. So it tells you if you've got one that's really good, maybe they'll be able to give us some additional insight on what happened with batch 15.
Right, exactly. So we're pouring it into the glass. Jodi's enjoying it straight up. And I'm having it on the rocks. And let's sample this. This is new. I've never had this type of whiskey.
Is your husband like this? He's going to dig this if you bring it home.
I will.
Mm-hmm. Smell it first.
It smells delicious.
Yeah, right?
You can smell the oak for sure. Let's have a taste.
Let it sit on your tongue a little and then slide down the throat. Isn't that warming?
Oh, it's super smooth though.
Isn't that good?
I don't think I've had a whiskey this good in my life.
You know what? Is that not some awesome advertising? Phil's gonna lose his mind.
No, because I assumed there was gonna be a huge bite on the end because I'm drinking it straight.
It's super
This
smooth.
is so smooth.
You can almost feel it, like, if you breathe out, like you can feel it coming all the way back on your throat. It's so good.
Cheers.
Cheers. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Thanks for coming. See?
We're gonna be telling each other all kinds of secrets when we're done with this.
I was on the quest for a skinny margarita, and my friend said, well, do you like tequila? And I said, absolutely, I love tequila. And he's like, ditch all the additives, just find a straight, smooth tequila. Hello, hence, whatever you mix your whiskey with, this can be a skinny whiskey, just drink it smooth.
Yeah.
There's no additives, no sugar. Awesome. So, Jodi, you followed your dream. You used to work in corporate America and you ditched it. How did you make the transition to your own gig?
So I can't say originally it was intentional.
Okay.
I was very much living the high stress, high travel, lots of hours, over capacity sort of situation that's often the reality, especially when you have a lot of movement or reorgs in companies and people are absorbing other people's work.
Yeah, and they don't add new resources, do they?
They don't always add new resources, or they're planned to, but it doesn't happen quickly, and so you're kind of trying to transition the gap a little bit. But my body decided for me. I actually started to get really sick. I had a period where I lost 30 pounds in 3 weeks. I couldn't keep anything in.
Oh my goodness.
And it got to the point where I was so weak that my family was literally afraid that I would pass out in the shower because I could hardly stand up anymore. And so I went into the hospital. And we didn't know what was going on, but they knew it was definitely stress-induced and related. And I found out later, after lots of tests, that I had Crohn's. And Crohn's, the inflammations often happen with high-stress sort of situations.
Oh, right.
So I had always had kind of a sensitive stomach and just thought that I was one of those people that I had to be really careful with certain things that I ate. And I think now looking back, like all those little things that happened throughout the years, I think were early indications that I probably had something bigger like Crohn's.
Sure.
But it wasn't until kind of everything came to a head in corporate America. So without really being able to choose, I just knew this isn't what I wanted to do and I needed time to figure it out and reset my system. So I stepped away, not really knowing what was next.
That's super emotional. Like you're in the hospital, you're diagnosed, and you can't go back to work. How did you get through all that?
Well, timing was everything because this was about late October, early November of 2010. And I knew, just having been in corporate America, and I was specifically in HR, kind of more learning and development lines, and I focused primarily on providing support to sales and marketing teams. That a lot of people wouldn't be renewing their budgets until the new year. And so I'm like, when's the last time I had an opportunity to just be home for the holidays and enjoy my family and travel and not have to worry about days that I had off? So I decided to not put any pressure on myself and to just get healthy and really take the time to think about what I wanted to do next. And part of that was being intentional about just meeting with people that I respected, admired, looked to, and thought, man, they've done some really cool things with their lives. I bet you they could provide some insight.
Sure.
And kind of share where I was at. And people would say, well, what do you want to do? And I'm like, I don't know, because I've always been one of these people that wants to try 100 different things. Like if you asked me any day, I'd be
I'm
like,
the same.
that sounds fun.
Yeah.
I'll learn how to do that.
I'll be a bartender for the day.
My God, bartending would be the best job ever. You get to talk to everybody, right? So I just started meeting with people, and I thought maybe they'll let me know of opportunities as they hear about it.
Absolutely.
But I wasn't going to worry about really hitting it hard until after the new year, so I gave myself a couple months to just kind of breathe. And during that time, I'm like, you know what? When I found out I had Crohn's, I realized I needed to have a little more control over my schedule. That a lot of my stress came from other people's expectations.
Oh, absolutely.
And that I needed to have more control over when I work, how I work, who I work with, how hard I work, and that the times I needed to take that off and take care of myself from a health perspective, that I could do that. So it started out with me wanting to reach out to one of my old dance line coaches from high school, because she owns a little store called The Rare Pair in Northfield, if any of you have been down there. And I'm like, I've always wanted to own my own little thing.
Yeah.
And I've always been into clothing and fashion, but I don't know the first thing about running a small store.
Sure.
And so initially I was talking to her about, and my mom still lives in Northfield. How about I just come down like 2-3 days a week and I'll work for free if you just teach me, right? Like
That's
I'll
what
be,
you offered?
I'll be
Every visit, they'd be like, open arms. Come
Well,
on
I'm
down,
like, intern,
Jodi. Yeah.
right? Intern.
Yeah.
I want to know all the behind the scenes stuff of what happens. And I had worked front of store retail before, but I didn't know the first thing about vendor relations or any of this stuff. And it just so happens while those initial conversations were kind of taking form, I ran across a little store in Hopkins that I actually only popped into because I was early for happy hour and didn't want to be the girl that shows up too soon. Too eager. Right? So I stopped in to do some shopping, and it kind of looked like they were in some sort of transition, and I didn't really know what was going on. So I started asking questions, and the sales associate at the time, Amy, was there, and she said, well, they're selling the business. And I said, well, why are they selling? And she said, well, they own a lot of different businesses, and they have some competing priorities with family, parents getting older, kids getting busy with school, and this is kind of their fun job, and so they're moving on to other things. And having come out of corporate America and knowing that professional executive women, in particular, not only need help with this, but a lot of them don't enjoy it. They would much rather give this process over to somebody else. They understand it's important. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, I'm like interested in the boutique piece, but I'm more interested in that wardrobing piece for women. And she had an existing database already. She was already shipping packages of clothing to women all over the country. So this is Stitch Fix before Stitch Fix even happened.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, like packages across the country of 5 complete outfits that mixed and matched amongst themselves. So I'm like, this is amazing. I need to do this. I literally felt like that cartoon character where the light bulb goes over your head and you're like, I know what I'm going to do with my life. And I literally went home and I said to my husband, I'm buying a business. And he looked at me like I was crazy.
Of course.
Because not only had I just left my big job at Cargill, but now he's like, really, you're going to start a clothing store? Like, what sort of experience do you have in this? And of course, I started as a consultant at Accenture right out of college. And I will tell you, that is the best job on the planet for somebody who always wants to feel like the world is their oyster. Like, consultants are the best people out there for getting into something quickly, figuring it out, learning on the job, representing the larger company, sometimes with areas that are not your area of expertise, but knowing how to facilitate all that. And because you get exposure to so many different things in so many industries, it almost kind of gives you that sense of, I can do whatever I put my mind to. Like, if I don't have these skills innately in me, I will learn them. And so I give it credit, and I also am like, my God, had I not started here, I would have probably overthought this and never jumped head over heels into my own business. But I think ignorance is bliss sometimes when you do that, because you could overthink it and talk yourself out of anything.
Yeah, of course.
So that was a really long way around of like kind of explaining how I got into it. But I bought her business existing, and I moved right in Hopkins, where she had done this wardrobing service. And about 2 years in, I decided we were in the wrong spot for that sort of service, and I moved my boutique to 54th and France in Edina. Yeah. So Corset Styling was the name of the store.
And that's where I met you.
That's how you found me.
Yep. And she would ship me boxes. She's come to my closet and gone through every article of clothing, mixed and matched out of my existing clothes, took pictures, explained what would go well with certain accessories. And I'll never forget when she picked a top that had like a circular pattern on it, and she told me to put on a blazer with polka dots on it, and I thought, she is out of her mind.
She's smoking something.
And that outfit ensemble, and she said, no, pattern with pattern is in, you got to do it. And I got so many compliments from that, and I would have never put that together, because I, for one, don't have an eye for color combos, pattern combos. I don't have an eye for fashion. I'm the person who used to love it 10 years ago when you'd walk into a store and those sales reps were all over you, where I would go into the fitting room, they would bring all the pieces in my size and all the colors that would look great on me, and I would just sit in there and try on clothes, and then the ones I liked I would buy, and the ones I didn't, they took back. But that type of service doesn't exist anymore, and let alone, I don't even like, and I know this is really odd to being a woman, but I don't like going into the retail boutiques. I've got better time. I've got time to
things to do with your time.
Yeah, I can't.
You need to be boating.
Exactly. So Jodi was incredible in that regard and really stretched me. But tell me, like, I worked at Target Corporation, and that's where I learned how important my image is, my personal brand, and I learned branding from one of the best branding companies. They have great marketing, great advertising, but I picked up on that personal brand piece when I was working at Target, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is how I'm showing up to the world. This is how I'm presenting myself. And like Stacy said on a previous podcast, if you want to make $1 million, you got to look like you're making $1 million already. And so Jodi's been able to help with that. But how do you pull that out of, how do you get people looking so great, all the people, you know, the famous people that you're helping on TV?
So for me, it's funny because I think it's equal parts of really trying to understand who they are and what they want their image to say, right? Because we have 7 seconds initially to make a first impression. And I'm always telling everybody, let's hope that the package that you show up in buys you more time so that they can get an opportunity to see your personality, understand your skill set, your experience. If they've already made a first impression, it is so much harder to undo that first impression than to just show up the right way the first time.
Absolutely.
Right? So for you, like, you're exactly right. When you walked in, like, you are such a dynamo. I mean, I was like, oh my God, watch out. There is not enough space in this room. Your personality fills the room, and your outfit did not showcase that. It just didn't. I mean, you should be in these fun patterns and these colors and expressing your personality with your accessories, all these things. And what I love about our session in your closet is that you were you were very aware of the fact that I don't enjoy this and I need help.
Yep. And
just being able to identify that and saying, I would rather give this to somebody else to do for me is huge, right? Whatever aspect of life. It might be housekeeping.
I do that in my business.
Absolutely.
I delegate the tasks that I am weak in and I have no interest in, because I honestly believe everyone should soar with their strengths and do what comes naturally.
Absolutely. And then the other thing that I loved about you is you were so eager to learn. You were like, just give me some tangible things that I can bring back and apply in my closet. So like the pattern thing, I love that you're still holding on to that, because we talked about you can mix patterns as long as they're different scales.
Right.
So as long as one's smaller than the other one, they totally go together. And you are so awesome, because she would send me pictures going, oh my God, you should see the people that stopped me and told me how awesome I look today. Like, snap, snap, you know, and that just like...
I'm in the airport bathroom. I'm in the bathroom at the hotel from a speaking engagement.
I love it. But look, to this day, like, we don't meet all the time.
No.
We maybe meet up once a year or something like that. You've been able to take those learnings and apply them, and you're pulling your own stuff together now. And so many of my clients like you will say to me, I put this together myself. I'm looking pretty good. What do you think, Jodi? I totally heard you in my head when I was getting dressed this morning, and I was putting those, you know, like that's what I love about this. So, so it's equal parts of kind of understanding the person's personality, what they want their image to say. I think there's a very small amount of pushing that can happen. Like, you want to give them enough stuff that they have some comfort with it, but you also need to make them a little bit uncomfortable too.
Which I was very uncomfortable many times with some of the outfits that you pulled together for me, but I went with it.
And you got affirmation.
Oh my gosh.
That it looked amazing.
Yep.
And then you were like, okay, I feel better about this. I'm going to take more risks. This is good. So it's kind of a slow progression. And people along the way are telling you, no, she wasn't smoking something. That looks good. This totally matches your personality. This is good. I see where you're going, you know. So it's a little bit of that. I do have an online profile where I ask people to fill it out ahead of time. And that just gives me basics like, what are your favorite colors? What is the sizing you wear? What are you typically wearing for a night out? What are you wearing for work? Because the other big thing for me is none of your clothes should be single purpose.
Absolutely.
All this stuff should be able to be mixed and matched in different ways that it works for all areas of your life. So, you know, a lot of people will say, if I'm trying to rebuild my wardrobe, where do I start? And I'm always like, you need pieces that you can put together and pull apart from each other and wear them in different ways. So even today with our work environment getting a lot more casual.
Oh, absolutely.
I still tell people they need one good, amazing suit, like a matching suit. It doesn't have to be a solid. It could be red. It could be a fun color. It could be a fun pattern. But you should like the pants and the jacket, or the pants and the skirt, or the jacket and the dress, whatever that pairing is, enough separately that you would wear them without the other piece too. And then I even say don't even hang them together in your closet. Hang them separately. So put the jackets with the jackets, the pants with the pants, so that you're looking at them as suiting separates, not all together. And this is for my male clients too. I'm telling them all the time, get those suits separated in your closet. So you can wear your jacket with a great blouse, which by the way is the number one thing people are missing. Women are missing in their closets because they're so versatile. And they don't wear jackets and things enough because they don't have a great blouse to kind of bring it to life. You can put that with dark denim. You can put it with a skirt. You can put it with a pair of trousers. But you need to have all these pieces that mix and match. So for an investment of a few core pieces, you maybe get 25 outfits out of them by the time you mix and match everything.
Absolutely. So tell me about the biggest transformation you've seen. I mean, like me, when I look good, I'm even more confident than I normally am, and I'm pretty confident. But you feel good, you show up different. Tell me, what's the biggest transformation? Because you've helped hundreds of people with their styling.
Well, okay, so to be fair, we do like makeovers on TV. And we're literally like looking for the people that will have the biggest transformations.
Oh, got
it. The guy in the shorts and the socks up to his knees with the baseball shoes, the tennis shoes, sneakers on. And the long hair and the facial hair and everything, and then we like clean them all up and get him in tailored clothes, and he looks amazing. So we've had those. But to your point, like there is something about, and part of the reason I chose a butterfly image for corset styling when I had the boutique was because there was something about my clients when they would put on something that they felt amazing on. Literally, it was like, oh, when they'd come out of the dressing room, right? Like you just saw them. They stood differently. They looked you in the eye. They held their head differently. And I'm always telling people, like, even if you're so often, they come in for outfits when there's something important, a big meeting, a big work trip.
Speaking
I'm going to be on stage in front of people, right? Something. The truth is that people remember more about how you make them feel than what you actually say. And a lot of how you make them feel is about that initial energy and read they get off of you. And that has to do not only with your personality, but how you show up, your outer package. And so I'm often telling them, like, don't get yourself so bogged down in the details of what you're going to say. Make sure that you're showing up in your best version of yourself.
I love that.
So that you feel confident and you are comfortable and you can just share your authentic self and your experience and your story with people. The rest of it will come, right? It can't be too rehearsed. And we get so into the details, and half the time they don't even remember the details.
Oh, right.
They just remember how delightful you were and how fun it was to meet you.
Right.
So I think that's part of it. And if you have confidence in what you're saying, people will believe you.
Oh, absolutely.
Even if you're shoveling them a whole bunch of bullshit.
Right. Exactly. So, Jodi, what do you recommend? I always recommend for interview attire to ask what the dress code is and ask your contact at that company what's the expected attire. Because like I've shared before, if you show up in a suit at Amazon, you will not get the job. There's no dress code at Amazon. And they want to know the words that are coming out of your mouth, not how you look. But now they're very different than most companies. Most companies have a dress code, like Talent Q. When I first started, we were business casual, meaning slacks, blouse, button-down shirt, polo, slacks. And I had some employees approach me, and they're like, Renee, we're not really, like, no one's coming into the office. We're not really meeting people face-to-face. We're, in the office, doing everything on the phone and the internet. Can we go to
business
jeans, casual. Like casual, do jeans and nice tops? And I thought about it for a while, and I thought, yeah, why not? So then we coined this phrase, dress for your day.
Yes.
And so I said, you dress for your day. If we're out at a meeting, then you gotta, match the people you're meeting with. So if I'm going to a presentation, I'll definitely suit up or wear a dress, be a little bit more professional. But if you're in the office, you can definitely wear jeans. Well, when you give employees a little bit, they usually pull further to see how far they can take you. So casual, nice jeans and blouses turned into tennis shoes and then hats. And I finally lost it. I was like, okay, guys, huddle up here. I said, I changed the dress code and we are casual. However, hats is crossing a line that I don't, that isn't comfortable to me and isn't portraying Talent Q's brand image.
Correct.
So I had to sit down and have that discussion with them. But it's funny because I have an employee handbook. Most companies have an employee handbook. They have a rigid dress code or outlined. And I specifically was laughing to myself when I was making my employee handbook and I had to write no athletic wear. Because you bet your bottom dollar that I've seen people that I worked with at Target would stretch it and they would wear leggings. And I didn't want leggings. I didn't want any athletic wear in my business. Jeans are cool, fine. But you put those parameters in for a reason, but people always stretch those boundaries. So what are your tips for when people are interviewing for their, next big job?
Well, so first of all, I think the tips you gave are awesome. I think that's perfect. They need to think about what they're being asked to do as part of that job. And then they need to put themselves in the other person's seat or shoes, right? So if you're hiring me for a job and I've done my research and I know something about your company, I know something about you, I know the dress code because I did all that research, right? Yep. Would I hire me if I were sitting where you are based on how I look?
Yep.
And I'm always telling people, seems really simple, but you know it. If you look in the mirror and something doesn't feel right, trust your gut. It doesn't look right. If you're like, oh, it's only kind of wrinkled. No, it's wrinkled.
Yeah.
You need to take it off and fix it, or you need to move on to something else, right?
Yeah.
And I hate to say it, but our spouses aren't always the best people to bounce things off. God bless my husband. He's like my biggest supporter on the planet. But even he will come out sometimes and be like, can I wear this together? And when I say no, he's like, too bad, I'm already dressed, I'm leaving. Like, he doesn't want to change, right?
That's right.
But it's true. Like, if you think about what is your role for the day, so you're dressed for the day, I'm always like, am I trying to get them to buy something from me? Is it a product? Is it me? A service that I'm providing? Do I need them to believe me? Is it something where I'm in an education role and I'm giving them knowledge and I need to appear credible? Who are the other people I'm going to be around? I still want to look approachable.
Right.
And so I'm not going to go into, for instance, a meeting with a bunch of workers who are in like combat boots, jeans, and dirty t-shirts because they've been doing like hard work, and then I show up in my fancy suit. Like they're going to be like, who are you? And I can't relate. Right. So you do have to read your environment, what you're there for, who your audience is, and then it is hard to balance all of that, right? And you should still be probably one step above the folks that you're meeting with.
I always say that.
Aspirational,
yes,
right? They should look at you and be like, I could learn something from this person, whatever that might be. But you don't want to go so many steps above that then they're just like, they've literally shut you off in their brain because they're like, she doesn't get me.
Exactly, Jodi. Exactly.
So I don't know if I answered the question.
Yes,
but
that was even better tips that went beyond interviewing, because if you're in a sales gig or in any situation that you're going to encounter, those are tips of how you want to show up. You've always got to be on point.
You do.
Now, I notice that women and men tend to go with the same color palette, blacks, grays, navies, because it's safe.
And it's granimals for adults. They don't have to think too much about how you mix and match if they're all in the same color scheme, right? Like my blue shirts go with my blue suits, go with my blue jeans, go with my blue tennis shoes.
Right.
Like that, they're like, I don't have to think about this. So
it's too easy.
Part of the reason why, so beyond the fact that I've transitioned my boutique business now into just the styling services, which I now call Jodi Mayers Style Partners, I also independently sell a custom menswear line called J. Hilburn. And the reason that I did that is because men in general have compromised women too, but we have a lot more options out there than men do. Men have compromised for so long on fit, and because they struggle so much with what goes with what, I'm like, we need to provide well-fitting clothes for men that coordinate. So like collections of clothes. Think about those mini capsules and things where people talk about capsule wardrobes, meaning you have less pieces, but they're very versatile and they all work together. So as a stylist for J. Hilburn, like my job is, if I sell you at our first appointment, and I'm going to go back to what I said before, a suit, right? A matching suit, a dress shirt to go with that suit, maybe a knit shirt to dress that sport coat down, a pair of dark clean denim that you can wear on date night. We're going to have a pair of dress shoes and a pair of sneakers so you can kind of go sporty or dressier. Maybe a pocket, whatever. As I get that little capsule going, every time I sell to that client, I keep adding pieces that work back in. So the point being, they're not necessarily always in the same color palette because I slowly start to stretch that. If you're in blues, how do you feel about purple? Can we get some purples in there, right? Like, how do you feel? So you start to kind of stretch them, or you incorporate color in patterns and things that feel less scary to them. Like, no guy ever has said to me, I need a pink shirt. I don't know what it is about color with men, but they're all like, no pink. But if I give them a blue and pink check shirt, they'll wear it all day. Right. So how do you incorporate that a little bit?
I love it. You're like taking them on this baby step journey to stretch their wardrobe to make them look even better.
You do, but see, that's where the value is, right? If you take the hassle out, it fits me well, the clothes are quality, and everything works together, and I get a personal relationship with somebody like you who's going to help me with all of this. Like, why wouldn't you go that route? And especially with the stores being so hard sometimes now to get great service, or to have somebody who will dote on you when you're in a dressing room and just keep chucking stuff at you to try. And then even then sometimes it doesn't fit right. So I do think we're in kind of a different world, and we're in definitely a world of convenience. People want stuff to just show up when they want it, and they want it to work exactly for them and their lifestyle. So we're kind of in this, and that's when I decided to close the store, honestly, is I saw the changing environment here, and I knew how hard it was to predict what people were going to want to buy because this stuff is changing so much. So Jay Hilburn on my men's side actually gave me the business concept of taking the services mobily.
Awesome.
And so for my women's line, I don't have like a collection of clothing that I sell from a women's perspective, but what I have done is forged relationships with other retailers. Because the truth is, at the end of the day, you could have found any of the things I carried in my boutique at other places.
Absolutely.
They just maybe didn't pull it together for you, or you couldn't get them all from the same place. And so nobody wants to do all that running around. So I took over the steps of having to run around and find the stuff, and I could still pull it all together for you. But I was essentially facilitating sales for other businesses that also needed the support right now. And I was being an independent advocate for the consumer. Not paid by the stores, not paid by the malls, not paid on the commission on the clothing. So at the end of the day, all I care about is that you have pieces you love and that work well for you.
Which you are so gifted at, so talented.
Thank you.
So I recommend when people are at a networking event, like when I'm going somewhere where there's going to be a crowd, I want to stand out. And so I tell people, if you're not comfortable with a bold red jacket, maybe a bold red necklace, or what are some things and tips that you can give to men and women who want to stand out, but they just want to dip their toe in the water right now.
So exactly how you're doing here. So this color is definitely bold, right? But solids are safe. Solid colored jackets and things are safe. So I like the fact that you are investing your risks in the things that you might swap out or change more regularly. So blouses are a great one because you can add color, you can add pattern from a women's perspective, or guys with the dress shirts, or maybe they're testing out, how do I wear a Henley with a sport coat, right? To make it a little more casual, something like that. Women have accessories. Guys have accessories too. Guys aren't really as familiar with the whole concept of accessorizing as women are. Pocket squares are taking over where ties used to be a staple. Guys are using different colored shoelaces to make their shoes a little bit more interesting. They're doing contrast fabric on the undersides of their shirt cuffs so that they can roll them up, or on the insides of their collar. You, for instance, can be completely professional and still show that you're a whole hell of a lot of fun to hang out with by wearing like a dangle earring. Right? Like you're not wearing these tiny little stud earrings that would look a whole lot more professional, traditional professional. You still look very professional, but the earrings are a way that you can say, and I'm fun. And you want me on your team because I offer something different.
Absolutely.
Right? But it's not like you're not going to ever see usually things in the dress code around accessorizing.
No.
So that's where you take your risks. If you want to have a big earring, have a big earring. If you want to have a big necklace, have a big necklace. The one thing I will say is be careful with your heel height, ladies, because I do think we quickly enter into the hoochie mama territory.
Oh, yeah.
When they get too big, too tall, right? Like,
oh, yeah.
It looks like you just stepped off the corner somewhere.
Well, and I tell people, I'm like, if you look in the mirror and you're like, I'm ready to go clubbing, you need to go change if you're on your way to an interview. Correct.
But accessories are easy, and you can have fun with your shoes too. I just think it's the heel height you kind of have to be like aware of.
Absolutely. So if looking back, if your 20-year-old self was sitting here,
oh gosh,
what would you tell her, Jodi?
Let's just say I didn't end up anywhere where I thought I would.
I don't think any of us do.
I never in a million years would have seen this. So I wanted to be a marine biologist.
Oh my gosh, I love dolphins.
I do too. They're my spirit animal. I was gonna go to college in Hawaii so that I could take marine biology. And it didn't happen. I ended up in St. Ben's, which I love St. Ben's. It was the best 4 years I've ever spent in my life. I made incredible friendships that to this day have not only proven to be amazing support systems, but have opened up a lot of opportunities for me professionally as well, just because you've got that connection. But I think I would tell my 20-year-old self that, like, dare to dream. Absolutely. Right? Like, dare to dream. I think we limit ourselves so much.
We do.
And I've been having this conversation a lot with my girlfriends on all sorts of levels, but I think society puts a lot of rules on us around what life is supposed to look like. You're supposed to get a job. You're supposed to buy a house. You're supposed to get married. You're supposed to have kids. You're supposed to have a dog. You're supposed to have this kind of car. You have to. That's a whole lot of pressure for people, and that doesn't necessarily work for all of us in our lives anymore. Some of us don't want to be tied down. We want all the flexibility in the world. We want to travel. Some of us don't want to get married. Some of us don't want to have kids. That's okay. Some of us want to have fur babies. That's what I have, fur babies. So if you just even think about it from that perspective and then you narrow it down to a professional career, I think it's hard sometimes for people to grasp the concept that I can do something that I'm passionate about and that fuels me and also make money at it.
Yes.
So
proof positive sitting in front of you.
Yes. And for me, like when people ask me what the best thing is about my job is, first of all, I have met the most incredible people. Like there are, especially women in my life today that I never would have met had I not taken the hard left off the career path.
Sure.
And to this day, some of them are dear, dear friends. So that's one thing. But the other thing is, this is the first time in my life that I have ever been paid to essentially spend time with people I adore.
Right.
Doing something that I enjoy.
Right.
Because I am providing a service, and I will say that created its own little level of like conflict in my mind for me.
It always
because
does.
You're like, we just went from happy hour, which I'm willingly participate, to shopping for you, and now we're into my livelihood, and that's actually something that like we now pay for, right? And that was hard. That was very hard for me to do. But my friends have been amazing about it, and I've learned to say, you know, do you want me to help you with this? Do you want to hire me for this? Like I will ask that question.
Oh, absolutely. I used to, people always bang down my door, family and friends. Yes. I love you all. And they would say, can you help me with my resume? I only have so much time in the day.
Right.
And now I actually charge for resumes. Right. Now, am I going to charge my family? Probably not. But I just offer it up. Like, here's my service. This is what I provide. Yes, I can totally transform your resume. But you can't just go around doing everything for free.
No.
And I was the same. When I first started Talent Q, I remember having anxiety sending invoices.
Yes.
Will
they pay them? Do they think I'm worth this?
Right, which is so bogus. Like thinking back to invoice number 1 and where we are now. I mean, of course, because I'm adding value to the companies. We're growing companies through talent, and hell yes, I provide a ton of value. So a lot of times we just got to get out of our own ways. And I love that you say dream big, because I have a bracelet here that I got from a dear friend for my birthday, and it says dream bigger, and the inscription on it just sung my praises. That's why I've started the podcast and the vlog, because I love cocktails. I'm a total enthusiast, and I want to give people free information, because there's all this hidden information of how do I look for a job? I can't tell anyone I'm looking for a job. How do I find great talent? And I'm pulling down the damn veil while sipping on great whiskey today and sharing all this information, because I feel like people need more education, so then they can go land a better job, do what they love. Life is too short to not do what you love.
Yeah, and the thing that I think where we're similar is we're not trying to build dependencies. We are trying to equip you with the tools to do what you need to do. So we want you to remember, I learned this from Renee. I learned this from Jodi. I love it when people tell me they hear me in their head. That's like the best thing ever. Right?
You're like the angel on the shoulder.
Right, because we grow our business through happy customers that sing our praises, that say you have to have somebody like this in your life. And that's how we continue to grow. And it's okay if they don't need us every day.
Absolutely.
We're there when they need us.
Absolutely.
But those are not the people you're ever having conversations with about your value, because they know.
Right.
They know, they've experienced it, and they're telling everybody else what a great investment you are.
Right. Absolutely. So, Jodi, what are you celebrating this week that we can cheers to?
Oh my gosh. So today I have to go pick up a car.
Ooh.
So I will tell you, this doesn't necessarily match my brand, but I hate buying brand new cars. I will not, ever. If they're the worst investment on the planet, the minute you drive them off the lot, they depreciate at least $10,000. Okay, I'm just telling you. So I have driven my cars into the ground from the minute I've been able to drive. It's just the way my family was. It's what I believe. So God bless my little car outside, but she's had it. And
Does she have a name?
No, she doesn't. She doesn't have a name. I used to name my cars. I don't know why I never really named this one, but it was a sign this week when the window didn't work.
Oh, God.
The window didn't actually, it went down, it didn't go back up, and we had to jimmy rig the thing to back.
Seriously?
And then my husband's like, stick the window lock on so it stays up when you trade it in, right? So they don't notice that the window's broken. She has a little body damage. I ran over one of those S hooks at one point that I thought was just some of those gap fillers in the road that had popped up. And I hit it, and there was a hook on one end, and it went into my tire and started slapping the outside of the car, taking divots out of the outside of the car. So it's time that I up my game a little bit in the automobile area. So I'm getting a new car today, new to me, not brand new, used. But this is a big deal for me because I've always paid outright for my cars.
Yeah.
And I will say, as an entrepreneur, you think about money a little bit differently.
Absolutely.
You're thinking about other investments that you need to make, not only back into the business, but things that are coming up that, in a lot of times, you're paying for things in large chunks. You're not installment sorts of payments. It's you need $9,000 today, and you're like, oh my God, where is that coming from?
Right.
So I decided to try a loan on this car, which is a big deal for me because I don't normally do that, but I'm like, I can always prepay it and pay it down faster, but I didn't want a whole lot of cash out of pocket right now because of some other big things that are coming up on my horizon. So I'm excited about it, but I've also got some anxiety around it. So it's good. The whiskey will take that edge off a little bit.
Perfect.
And then from a work perspective, because that was not really work related. I'm sorry, total tangent.
No, I love personal. That's what we want to cheers to. That's more important.
Is I partnered with Edina Magazine on a fall fashion spread.
Awesome.
And so it's in their September edition. And
congratulations.
Yeah, it was fun. We had 3 model volunteers that are friends of mine, and I just have always thought they're incredibly beautiful, and it was fun for them to get to dress up and have their hair and makeup done, and we had beautiful spaces. We actually used the Westin Galleria, and then their new residence, which has a brand new lobby. Some of the floors there are actual condos that people own. Very nice condos. Right. So one of the homeowners was gracious enough to let us in, and we took pictures inside the condo.
Oh, awesome.
So that's super fun, and it's weird when you start to look back at where things started, and then you see some of this little stuff and what you've had your hands in. You have to sometimes take a step back and just sit there and breathe and go, we've accomplished a little bit.
Yeah.
It feels sometimes like you've been going hard for a long time, but.
Cheers to your new venture, your partnership.
Thank you for having me.
Cheers to your new car, and cheers to introducing me to Brother
my gosh,
Justus.
You have to have them on. These are one of your next guests,
I'm
telling you.
I'm doing it.
Okay.
Jodi, where can we find you?
So Jodi Mayers Style Partners is the name of the business. I am completely independent and will work with any stores or malls. But Ridgedale Center has been an amazing strategic partner for me. They've actually built out a style lounge for me in their mall management office, and I have pulling privileges in all the stores. So if you're not necessarily connected to one particular store or mall, and you want to come there, we can have a private one-on-one session. I even have wine. Don't tell anybody. And everyone will leave us alone, and I will literally run around to the stores that I think best fit your need and what you're looking for in advance, pull it all into the room. You'll come in, everything will be styled, and we'll mix and match, and we can just have fun trying stuff on, talking through styling tips, drinking some wine. And so that's the easiest place for me to meet people, and you just pay me by the hour. I work for you. I'm $75 an hour. You can tell me in advance how much you want to put or dedicate towards the service versus the clothes. But I see it as my job to get you exactly what you're looking for in sizes that fit for the best value. So if I know, for instance, that a particular brand is available at multiple stores, I'm going to go where I can find it for the least amount of money. So that's where I am. It's JodiMayers.com. And for those gentlemen who are looking for some custom clothing options, we've got everything from socks to tuxedos. And you can get all that information at JodiMayers.com as well. But I also have a J. Hilburn website, which is jodimayers.jhilburn.
And she is phenomenal. So reach out to her.
Thank you.
And for all of you hiring leaders, you need to get my strategy for bringing on board new employees. That's found at careersandcocktails.com. You can also go to the same website to find out where to purchase my published book called I Hate Mondays for all you job seekers out there. And if you've enjoyed this video, be sure to like, subscribe, and click the bell so you don't miss an update. Cheers!
Cheers.